you put out a
Oh,
horrible piece of content.
Yes. Okay, here we go.
That wasn't factually accurate or based in any kind of reality other than your own bald head. You are accurate 90% of the time, except for the last video when you said that native ads were dead. And I follow your channel. I don't know why I follow your channel, but I follow it.
Exactly. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Powerhouse Affiliate Show. Today, I'm happy to have Shaun Hall, who is the Director of Advertiser Demand Partnerships at Revcontent, here ready to confront me on my latest video about native ads, where I had talked about the dark underbelly of native ads and how it is a challenge for affiliates to have any success. He's here to set the record straight and show me that there is a brighter side to native ads, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of this in today's interview. And I'm super happy to have you here today, Shaun. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and where you're coming from.
Sure. And I believe you said native ads were dead, I think is how you would put it in your last video, which drew me to action, because I am an 11-year veteran of this industry. I have been quite the journeyman over those 11 years, being an affiliate manager, being an affiliate. I've worked for software solution providers. I've worked for advertisers. I've done business development. I've ran enough native traffic to know, and I've helped enough native advertisers to know, Joey, that native advertising is not dead. It is alive. It is well. And you were so off base with that. It was the worst. I don't even know. It was 20 minutes of my life that I had to watch with a few bright spots that you were a little bit accurate with your take. But I am here today to let your faithful followers know that native is a very viable option. In fact, one that should be included in every online marketing and affiliate marketing strategy. So excellent. I am here to set that record straight.
So it is the battle of the bald heads.
It is.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the pain points that I had mentioned, and we're going to address them one by one. This is going to be a great topic of conversation, and I think it's great. So can you tell us a little more about what we're talking about here in terms of native ads, what you guys offer, and where we're going here with this conversation?
So I'm going to start very basic, because I assume anybody that watched your last installment of this and took your words as gospel probably don't know exactly what native advertising is. So I'm going to start there. Native ads refer to the placements that are below articles on major content sites, editorial sites, entertainment sites, etc. They are below article. They are called native ads because they should appear as native pieces of content to the site in which they appear. So contrary to popular belief, they shouldn't necessarily look like ads at all. In fact, basically another term for native ads would be content recommendations or content rec, because it should look like other pieces of content that the user wants to click on and wants to visit. I think the problem is, and the problem with what you were trying to accomplish with your native journey when you labeled it as dead, Joey, was you're trying to run native as if you were running Meta or as if you were running Google Display. You didn't follow the best practices there of not having it look like an ad. In fact, the exact opposite is true. And that's kind of an issue industry-wide with people that are starting to run native, is they're not looking at the nuance of the traffic source itself.
So what are some strategies that you think I did wrong, and what specifically are you referring to when it comes to the ads themselves that you're seeing successful ads? Since you are behind the scenes, you see what people are doing. What would you say is the way forward for people to successfully succeed with these types of ads? What should they be doing?
Absolutely. So as we kind of touched upon a little bit, let's talk about the specific user journey for a second. Now on Facebook ads, which I ran a lot of Facebook ads myself, they're on Facebook to scroll, to look at pictures, to do everything else other then leave Facebook. So you have to use a very aggressive image to get them to stop the scroll. And then you have to create a headline or a description that's, builds enough curiosity to get them to click off of Facebook or to click off of Google or to click off of their email, right? Like you have to do that. With native, the users have just read an entire article, an entire content piece. They are already looking to click off of that. They're not necessarily loyal to stay on that website. So when you're designing the ads, if you want to be successful, I always say, look at what big news organizations do. If you go to the search bar and you type something in like weight loss or tinnitus or solar, they're not using some image, like for tinnitus example, they're not using some image of somebody literally putting a bottle to their ear with something that says top doctors recommend this. They're not doing that because it doesn't work, at least not in that environment. So you're trying too hard with that, Joey. You have to use something that looks like an editorial piece, something that's not beat up, something that's not, an angle that's been used for the last 15 years. A good stock photo will work for that with a headline that sounds more editorial. Here are the 5 ways that you can get rid of the ringing in your ear, right? If you're newly married, here are the things that you need to know first, right? There are different things that you can use to make it sound like an engaging piece of content they want to read. That is the simple formula for how to be successful on native. The other thing, native ads, your ad is going to be right next to other people's ads, right? So you got to not only compete with getting the person to click, but you have to think about the other advertisers that are in that panel, right? Now, what's the typical journey that you would go on, Joey? You would hit up your affiliate manager, right? And I know your affiliate managers pretty well. We've been in group conversations before. What do? If you're an affiliate, you go to your affiliate manager and you say, hey, what's the best performing offer on native right now, right? Because that's what you would do with Facebook. And they say, oh, Shaun, that's going to be a toe fungus offer. Great, let me get my link. And then what do they do, Joey? What do you do, Joey? What do you do? I'm looking at you. You go to a spy tool, you type in the vertical, and then what pops up? Oh, here's a campaign that's spending a lot of money. They must be profitable. Let me rip that campaign, that headline, and let me throw that up onto a native platform, right? Not realizing that you're not the only cat in town to do that. Other people have also done that. So then what happens is that user gets to the bottom of the page, and then there are 6 other ads that are similar. It's a weird picture of somebody sprinkling some powder into a dirty coffee filter. It's somebody boiling a lemon, right? And it's all got the same cadence. Some kind of doctor, the quick hook on what you can do with little or no effort to make that happen. And then in parentheses, it's genius. In parentheses, try tonight. So you have 6 or 7 ads that all look the same, right? So the user knows that's all complete BS right there, and they're not going to click on any of them. Or taking that a step further, right? Because I looked into some of your stuff. I wanted to be prepared when I got here today, right? And I'm going to put you straight on blast because you know what? You deserve it. You deserve it.
Yes.
And then what happens is there's no congruence from the ad to the landing page, right? You click on the landing page and there's no mention of sprinkling something in coffee. There's no mention of putting a bottle of something to your ear. And what's the person going to do? They were there under false pretenses and they're probably going to bounce. I hear from advertisers all the time, hey, my click-through rate's not bad, but my conversion rate's in the toilet, right? And I look at it and it's like, because there's no congruence. Their bounce rate on their landing page is like 95%. Or if they have some kind of heat mapping, they get there and they don't do anything. They just leave, right? Yeah. So native ads isn't dead. Yeah. It's just not being handled properly.
Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of these platforms like yours, it's an algorithm, we have ad delivery, and a lot of the ad managers out there are saying, hey, you need high CTR on your ads, but you can't tell me that a stock photo is going to get high click-through rates. Even if I'm sitting there with 6 guys with a toe fungus that has like a piece of whatever. I'm not saying I run toe fungus, but it's a great example because toe fungus is one of those ones that has, or you have the tinnitus and you have all these skin wrinkly faces. But a stock photo, how are you going to get your click-through rate, or is click-through rate on the ads even a factor here when it comes to crafting a good ad that is also congruent with the landing page, which is also congruent with the offer? Are you saying stock photos is the way, or is there a better strategy?
Stock photos work. If you can find something that's not aggressive, and when I say stock photos, I just mean something that's not heavily clickbait, right? And even if you wanted to run that angle with the person on tinnitus that has the bottle to their ear, then build your landing page around it. Say, I know we've all seen the picture of the bottle to the ear. Let me tell you why this doesn't work. And then go into your pitch, right? Yeah. Create some congruence.
Because when we went through some examples last time and we talked about this, we also looked at some of these clearly evident fails where you do have pictures of these people sticking things in their ears, but then they go to a landing page that isn't congruent. And we could beat this point to death, but there's so many other things we should cover today.
Well, let me answer your question real quick there on click-through rates. Click-through rate is very important. I am not going to sit here and tell you that click-through rate isn't a metric that we definitely should pay attention to, right? But unless you're being paid on the initial click, right, the conversion rate is what matters. So yes, will your click-through rate potentially dip a little bit? Sure. But will your conversion rate be higher because you've got people that are actually interested moving through? Yes, you're pre-qualing them a little bit with the headline. So that way, when they get through, they're more apt to go through the funnel, especially if there's congruence. So yes, the conversion rate might not be as high, but who cares if your click-through rate might not be as high, but who cares as long as your conversion rate is high?
Yeah, and the argument is there that a lot of the platforms out there are pushing people to get higher click-through rates, so more people click on the ads and you guys make more money.
That's just shady, and I can't speak for anybody else or any other companies, but I know here at Revcontent specifically, our whole KPI is on advertiser retention, right? That's our thing. Yeah. We don't want to give you false results because it's a short-term thinking mentality. You're not going to be profitable, and then you're not going to stick around with us.
Yeah. So let's move on to targeting, because you brought up Facebook. Facebook, I can go in there and I can target somebody who's between the age of 18 and 22 if I want, or I can target people that are 65 plus. I can target people that have a relationship, that don't have a relationship. You get my point. How do affiliates succeed with such a broad spectrum of ads when it comes to native ads? What are the targeting recommendations you have?
Great question, and I get this every day. Now, you have to step back a little bit. Facebook itself is one site, it's one traffic source, right? So you have the abilities to target those visitors because it's just one site that you're advertising on. They have to give you some kind of options as far as optimization goes, other than just, hey, advertise on this site. With native, especially here at Revcontent, again, I can't speak for other people that, or have different platforms or whatnot. Here at Revcontent, we give you the ability to target geographically, and we also give you the ability to target by device type. Our platform is designed to be very user-friendly and very advertiser-focused. At the end of the day, it's just media buying, right? But when you're looking at placements, we've got over 5,500 different publisher sites that we currently work with. So each one of those sites is its own traffic source. So we don't own the sites. We don't control who visits those sites. So if we then had to go in and add all of these extra layers on top of it, it's going to severely limit the actual reach that you have, which is going to limit the results. And in my experience, you don't have to get that granular to be able to be successful.
One other thing that probably works well, correct me if I'm wrong, is since it's such a broad audience, now there is the fact that Facebook and Google, places like that, have an algorithm in place where you can go broad, but they're smart enough to realize that, hey, if we show it to 1 million people in California, it's going to convert way better than 1 million people in Texas or whatever. Just an example. Sure. So there are some advantages there in terms of its abilities to move traffic to where it thinks it's going to convert. So what can affiliates or marketers in general do? And what is the advantage of going to native? Would it be a different strategy here since we don't have
Yeah.
that capability?
So any Facebook marketer will tell you how annoying it is to work with Facebook, right? They actually make it pretty difficult for you to spend money consistently and to optimize it consistently. Even though they have all of these great targeting options and all of this, it's a nightmare. The ads manager, the business manager, whatever they're going by, it is a nightmare. It is hard to work with, right? We specifically keep our platform very easy to operate and very easy to work with because of the fact that the audience on native is already looking to click on something. They're already looking to leave that environment to find other content to scratch that itch. The platform doesn't need to be super technical, super involved. We do have an algorithm that will start, looking at pieces of content, that will start looking at placements, things that are performing better. We'll start getting more of that budget. But for the most part, native's easy. Once you get it profitable, which takes a little bit of time. Now that was, I owe you a little credit here. I will give you one little morsel of respect on this. Native is never going to be your cheapest traffic source. When you had said that it takes about 10 to 15 grand to really test native properly, you were spot on with that figure. Whenever new people come in and they say, what's a good test budget? I always say between $10,000 and $15,000 because of the fact that there's so many different sites and widgets on those sites that we work with. If you came in with a $50 a day budget, even if we only gave you 25 widget IDs, each one's only getting $2 worth a day of traffic. It would take you months to get enough traffic to optimize that, right?
Yeah.
The good thing is, once you get profitable, once you get that list of widget IDs that's just cranking out money for you, it is easy. There's no headaches. Like you affiliates, and I'm gonna say this because we smell our own sometimes. We are the laziest people on the planet, and we are the greediest people on the planet. So we want to do what? We want to work as little as possible to make as much money as possible, right? That's the whole plan. With native, once you get profitable, once you've kind of gone through that A to B process, it checks both of those boxes because it isn't a huge time suck. You don't have to spend a lot of time every day trying to figure out why it's not spending. What's spending here? It's easy. It's consistent.
Well, I might have to disagree with you on that one.
I hope you do.
It's not easy because of the fact that it's a lot of manual tracking of placements. And a lot of these platforms out there, maybe not Revcontent, but a lot of these platforms, if you go in and you go run of the network, you're going to get a whole whack of traffic from thousands, we'll say, of placements, maybe hundreds, that are giving you 1 to 2 clicks. And a lot of the times, it's 1 to 2 clicks on your landing page with 0 clicks through. And then you've got so many different pieces of data where it's not easy. It's easy to get the traffic, yes, but I don't think it's easy to optimize it unless you're using maybe a third-party platform to do the optimizations for you, or you have an insider at the Revcontent or wherever, and they're saying, here, use these top-tier placements. But a lot of times that's not communicated well to people coming in to spend their $10,000 to $15,000. Do I have any point there? What do you think?
You've got no point there, Joey. That is so far off base. That is classic Joey.
Let's hear it.
The platform is easy. You literally get a list of widget IDs. You get a list of the sites they appeared on. You get the publisher ID. You get to see how many ad views. And we use ad views instead of impressions because we're at the bottom of the page. So an impression could be they loaded the page but didn't scroll down. Ad views means your ad was in front of them, right? You can see how many clicks you got. You can see your click-through rate. You can see your conversions. If you're passing back revenue data, you can see your return and your profit there. It takes about 10 minutes to scroll through there, look at it, increase the bids in the ones that are working, decrease the ones that are so-so, and to block the ones that aren't. It's not a hard process. Anybody with common sense could do it. Now, I will tell you, I do love the fact that we work with and we're integrated with a lot of third parties that you can use to get more detailed intelligence. You can use to day part. You can use to do those things, but it is not hard. Common sense, and that's why we've kept our platform like that. because it's hard. Now, if you want to get a little extra edge, work with one of our account managers. That's what they're designed to do, is to help you understand what your goals are. It's like a one-stop shop. They can help you with anything that you need. Their whole job is to help you shorten that process from A to B.
Yeah. Okay. One of the other ththings that came up in the video last time we talked about, or I talked about, was the CPA, the cost for a conversion. And of course, as affiliates, we're kind of stuck with what we get paid versus what we have to pay for traffic. We don't have a lot of control over the back end. We can't really upsell. We can't really do a lot of those things. So what do you think is a good area? What kind of affiliate offers would work better? Can you give some strategies on what affiliates should be looking at in terms of what it's going to cost to get a conversion and what kind of offers work best?
Sure. Just for, you brought up the CPA thing. I spoke this year. I was blessed enough to speak at Lead Generation World in regards to native traffic. One of the things I found out was the fact that last year, 2023, according to my research, the average CPC on Facebook was 97 cents. The average CPC on Google was $4.22. The average CPC on TikTok, which is an emerging platform for affiliates, was $1. Our average desktop CPC, to be competitive, is 35 cents. We are drastically cheaper than some of the bigger placements, the more popular placements.
Is that in the US and your top placements?
That is in the US, and that is on our top placements.
Interesting, because they always say it's more when they say set your bids at 65 cents. Why is that?
I've never told you to set your bids at 65 cents.
Okay.
Never in my
well,
life.
I can certainly
that is the average. Now, if you want to get more aggressive,
yeah.
if you want to get more aggressive, you can totally bid up. That is the average, right?
Okay.
Sometimes you could win a placement for 20 cents. Sometimes it might take 50, but the average total is 35 cents.
But okay. In terms of cost per click, so you're arguing that the cost per click is much lower than, say, what I said in my last video, where I was saying it was $1 per click for top placements in the US. So that could just be a platform thing.
That is a platform specific thing. And again, I can't speak for other platforms out there. Obviously, because of my role here, I haven't ran any of my own native traffic in a while. So,
So in terms of converting and getting conversions, let's assume, okay, I'm on the other platform, I'm doing CNN and top placements like Fox. I'm assuming you have just as high quality publishers, so it should convert the same. So you're saying that if we would have done the same test, maybe perhaps on Revcontent, our cost per click would have been on average 35 cents, not $1. And we would have had the same quality of traffic.
Yes. Now, the only difference is, and I'm very frank about this, Taboola, Outbrain are very large companies when it comes to number of publishers they work with, right? The one thing that I've always loved about native is it's not really necessarily a competitive environment, right? Like if you want to really scale and you want to increase the reach to the max, it makes sense to run congruent with all of us, right? Because then you get every corner of the internet, right? So yeah, we have big sites. We've got, AccuWeather. We've got Reader's Digest. We've got the lock on conservative news and local news. We've got a lot of really good publishers. Shout out to our PubSide team, because they've been really good this last couple of years on bringing in publishers that yield a high interest kind of demographic, right? People that like to click on things, people that convert. Right? That's where we focus all of our publisher efforts on, is getting some of those high intent users and the publishers that they go with. One of the things that I talked about at Lead Generation World was the fact that, right or wrong, we live in an era where people really care about where they get their news and their information, right? They identify with it. It's part of their overall being, is they get their news from here, right? So we want to find those places because they trust the advertising they see there. So yes, to answer your question, if you ran congruently, I am confident that you would have seen a better CPC and would have had similar results with us.
There was one question I wanted to just clear out. What do you think are the best verticals for affiliates, considering we are targeting options here that are very broad? We have to pre-qualify our people with our ads. But what are some verticals that you find are working, since you do have experience as an affiliate manager? What would you suggest to Mr. Joey that comes to you and says, "Hey, what should I run on native ads, man?" What would you say to him?
First of all, I love your impression of yourself. Obviously you have to look at the demographics, right? Typically native audiences skew a little bit older and a little bit more conservative, right? So you got to think, and you got to put yourself into the shoes of that demographic. What are some of their pain points in life? What are some things that they're struggling with that you can offer that solution to, right? Because as marketers, our job is to do one of two things: push people towards pleasure or away from pain, right? So what are those pain points? What are those things that they either try to run from or run to? So that's why things like tinnitus, things like blood sugar, things like toe fungus, things like reverse mortgages, home services, things like those things all do really well because it speaks to the demographics that we're dealing with in native. Now, is there some seasonality to it? Does ecom do better in Q4? Sure. Home services spins up, as soon as it gets warm across the country. So right around this time of year, we start to see a spike in that. There's some cyclical seasonality to it. But for the most part, anything that you can do that caters to kind of that a little bit older, a little bit more conservative audience is where I would be. That's why dating, unless it's like a match.com or some brand safe thing, typically I would probably stay away from. I'd probably go with your Facebooks or your TikToks on that. But walk-in tubs or roofing, siding, solar, like I said, some of the ones that we mentioned for ailments that affect older people, those all do really well.
Yeah. That's why we're seeing the toe fungus maybe and the tinnitus.
Yeah.
And
neuropathy is a good one. There's those neuropathy pads that have been doing really well lately. So, because again, it solves the problem for the demographic. It gets them to want to say, oh, you know what? I'm over 65. I feel like I'm paying too much for my health insurance. Let me see if I qualify for this, right?
Yeah. So one thing I also brought up in the last video was the fact that while using spy tools and while also surfing on places like CNN, Fox, wherever, the number of affiliates versus people doing content arbitrage and search arbitrage seem to be dwindling. And I'm not sure if you have any data to prove me wrong, but what are your thoughts on it, at least in terms of seeing more arbitrage people than actual affiliates running CPA affiliate offers or whatever it is?
Great question. The thing that makes it, because again, going back to my point that affiliates are lazy and greedy, right? The whole reason arbitrage pops up every once in a while, and it goes through little trends where it's super popular or not super popular. The minds of some of the affiliates are like, well, I can just get 2 clicks and I get paid. This is great. I don't have to convert anybody. I don't have to get a credit card. This is wonderful, right? So you have a lot of people that pour into a lot of arbitrage types of campaigns, not realizing that if you don't truly know what you're doing and know your numbers and know how to do it, it's real easy to lose money quickly. So that's why you'll see that kind of pop up. It'll raise up, it'll go away, it'll come back, it'll go away. There's a small group of people that do both really well. And you'll see them consistently using native as a solution for arbitrage. Now, there are a lot of other big publishers out there that will utilize native traffic to send more traffic to their current content, right? And it's designed for that. I mean, we're looking to move people from one content to more content because that's what that user wants. So they typically do pretty well. But again, it's very, cyclical as far as people getting in and why they're getting in and who's getting in. So that's why you see kind of an influx and then kind of a retreat of that. But the one mainstay is always going to be people doing lead generation or direct response stuff where they're selling, your nutraceuticals or your e-com.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, there's and also
that's a good point. That's why I'm here, Joey.
That's right. That's why we're here, man. The search arbitrage, from what I understand, the rules are getting a little harder too with Google, especially in terms of some of their policies. So it may.
And then you have to look at too with search arb, how where are you getting access to the feed from? Are you getting direct access? Are you going through a middleman? Are there 2 middlemen? Because when you're dealing with a game of pennies, sometimes how close you are to the source matters. And talking to some of the advertisers that come on and they're doing search arb, when they're like, like, who are you getting the source from? Sometimes they're 2, 3, 4 people out. It's like, there's no way you're going to be profitable here.
Yeah,
No way.
exactly. It's tough.
So that's something to take into consideration too, is how close are you to the actual direct feed? There's only a few people out there that have access to the direct feed.
Yeah. So back to actual affiliate, because I think a lot of the people watching this will be more interested in the affiliate side of things or running e-com and stuff like that. What are some of the metrics that you guys can offer? What should we be looking at when we can go again to places like Google and see exact search terms that people are searching for? We can go to Facebook and see all the information about our traffic. But what metrics do you guys give us that we should be focusing on? Or should we be focusing on our CTR, our own landing page click-through rates, or is there something else? Like, obviously we have widgets, and can you just give me a little blurb about that, just in terms of what your advice is?
Yeah, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. Obviously, we want to pay attention to click-through rates, right? We want to get as many qualified people through to that landing page as possible. What I tell people, especially people running affiliate offers, that might be a VSL or that might be e-com, is look at how many friction points you have between the ad and the actual like checkout page, right? Because you have to think, we're going ad, and then I like to run an advertorial out front because it also kind of gets rid of some of the tire kickers out there. So I like to do that, but sometimes we'll see funnels come through, especially for some e-com, where it's advertorial, like maybe it's a listicle or something, and then it goes to, they click on, the fidget spinner or whatever it is. Yeah. And then suddenly they have an advertorial for that offer. And then there's the package page. There's just long funnels. The shorter the funnel, the better. Again, pre-qualing a little bit in the headline's not a bad idea. Having a very optimized landing page, call to actions above the fold, making sure you're not keeping them there too long. You're giving them what they need to move through. But click-through rate's something that I like to pay attention to, but also conversion rate. Like, it's always important to pass back the conversion data to us. So that way we can start seeing and helping what's converting better and what's not. Obviously, the click-through rate on average on native is going to be a lot lower percentage-wise than what you're going to see on Google or Facebook, because, again, the advanced targeting there. But that's not necessarily a horrible thing, because there are people that come to me and they're like, oh, I have a business offer. I want to be on all the business publishers. And it's like, listen, like, you and I are in affiliate marketing. How much time do you spend in your web browsing that's specifically on sites catering to affiliate marketing? I know for me, it's not many. On my average daily browsing, I mean, there's not many times I'm just specifically at an affiliate marketing website. So it's kind of good to have that broader availability, because I'm also a guy that suffers from FOMO. So the more tailored and the more specific my campaign is, the more I'm going to lay in bed at night wondering, could I be converting other places? Is there other widgets that I could be running that I could be converting? Right? Like, I thrive on making placements and traffic sources that I don't think will convert. It's what gets me excited. So I always tell people, look at click-through rate, then look at your conversion rate, and then look at ways to optimize both. Whether that's split testing landing pages, split testing creatives, split testing, if you're running a listicle, split testing the products in the listicle, where they're at in the list. If you're running an advertorial, try a couple different styles. Really kind of put the time and effort to increase both your click-through rate and your conversion rate without affecting either too much. Because obviously, if we have a super high conversion rate but a super low click-through rate, we're probably missing some people that would be, a little bit, more convertible. Or if you have a super high click-through rate and a super low conversion rate, obviously we need to do a little bit more work on the creative to get more qualified people through. It's just looking at it and pulling a lever and seeing what happens and trying to get yourself closer and closer to perfection.
Yep, makes sense. So when we talk about publishers, and the fact of the matter is you guys don't really have control over the traffic itself. You have publishers, and they are the ones that get the traffic, and you're buying their traffic. Well, we're buying it, and you're getting a little bit out of that, whatever. What do you do to make sure that we're not getting a bunch of ad fraud?
Yeah, and that's a big deal industry wide. I mean, there are great companies out there that kind of work towards that. That's kind of making things better industry wide. Some steps that we take here at Revcontent. When I get into device targeting, there's some settings in there that we can do that kind of limit some of that, right? Because obviously we can't eliminate all of it, but I will tell you through these targeting options, which just come down from making manual selections and not just doing an all-encompassing kind of thing. Because right with the Internet of Things now too, I mean, I literally saw a TikTok video where a lady was going to literally YouTube on her refrigerator. She was looking at Reddit on her refrigerator, right? Like, we don't want refrigerator traffic. We don't want that operating system coming through, right? So there's different devices that you can select, different browsers that you can select that limit a lot of that. So last year, when a lot of the fraud was happening across native platforms, we didn't really experience a whole lot of it, to be honest with you. Like, we have a really great compliance team that's always looking at options for how do we keep some of the bad traffic out. We've got really great advanced settings that will help kind of make sure that a lot of those different browsers and device types aren't getting through. We take that very seriously, and it's something that we look at all the time at improving and making better. But those efforts have paid off because we really haven't had a whole lot of that on Revcontent specifically in the last year and a half that I've been here.
Nice. Well, we're almost coming to a close here. I think
Already?
I'd love to hear.
I haven't even nailed you yet.
Oh, well, that's why I wanted to make sure I gave you a warning before I just shut you down before you really sizzled my hair. But before I go into the closing questions, I want to make sure everybody watching can give us your comments down below. Who's roasting who here? It seems like Shaun's definitely got an edge here, and I might be convinced that I might try some Revcontent again. Maybe I had a bad experience on the platform. Maybe you're correct. Maybe we can put it to the test and actually prove it once and for all. We'll see about that. But anyways, please put your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's go into the closing questions. Okay. And of course, you have one final say that you can say whatever the heck you want, but what are some emerging trends that you think are happening right now in 2024 in terms of affiliate marketing or marketing in general that you think might present some opportunities for us?
Yeah, with native specifically, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of success for are people utilizing GIFs for their creatives instead of just a static image, right? With native, the whole goal is to stand out from other ads in that panel. And I can tell you not many people are running GIFs when they should be, because you get all of the advantages of a good video creative without all of the lag and the decreased reach and things like that. So that's a trend that if you're looking to scale your native, you're looking for better performance, try incorporating a GIF as your creative with some good headlines to create some movement to draw that eye. That is something that I would recommend a lot of people, if they have the ability to do. Another trend that we're seeing are people using their own stock photos. They'll grab friends, family, grandparents, they'll hire a photographer, and they'll actually use organic stock photos, which we're seeing a very high click-through rate and a lot of engagement with that, right? Because it's not something that's out there that's ever been seen before. Because, with stock photos, sometimes it's the same models, the same people. We've all seen them. So those are just some ways creatively that you can use to pull that through. As far as overall trends, we're seeing a lot more people utilizing pay-per-call, so going native to call. And right now, we don't have a direct solution for just clicking the ad and it prompting a call. It is something that we have kind of on the punch list, if you will. But even running a really good landing page that just they send people, you click on it, it's like, do you qualify for this program? Click here. Boom, there's a big call to action button with the phone number or a call prompt. We're seeing more and more of that becoming more successful. The other thing that we're seeing a lot more of, as opposed to, maybe last year, 2 years ago, a lot more lead generation across the board. Lead generation's been blowing up. Even I've been going to lead generation world now for a few years and just seeing the amount of people that are attending year over year. It's a huge vertical that pays off. I think what people are starting to realize, right? The days of the 400% ROI two-step diet trial are gone, right? That model, right? And some of the data that I gave at lead generation world was people don't like that aggressive in-your-face style of advertising. They like something that seems more seamless, right? So playing into those trends, people are finally starting to get it. They don't have to run black hat on native. You don't have to get that aggressive. In fact, it's counterproductive to the overall goal. So we're starting to see a shift towards more legitimate marketing efforts. People actually putting effort into the marketing, into their creatives, right? Doing things more legitimately and seeing a higher return because of it.
Aside from my awesome YouTube channel that talks
It is
about
awesome.
native ads with clarity, and truth, I'm wondering if there are any other educational resources that you guys have, or perhaps that you know of, that might be as good as mine.
I mean, that's a tall order. I mean, you're legendary. I mean, I don't know that anything holds a can. No, there are other resources out there. I always tell people, avoid the crazy gurus who are out there that are pitching things that you don't know if they've ever ran anything, right? Like you can tell the guru from the legitimate person because they'll actually have stats on what they've accomplished in affiliate marketing. There is a guy named Tom Bell. Revenue Tactics is his company. He's got a really good native course, and he's I don't know what they call themselves, a platinum ClickBank, affiliate or something. He's got actual accolades. He's got, him and I still differ a little bit on some approaches in there, but for the most part, out of all the ones that I've seen, his has been the most legitimate. But the best thing to do is just find industry blogs, find websites where there's just a forum of people sharing ideas, right? I would say any money that you can, just open an account, start testing for yourself. I mean, that's the best way to learn, is just to test, right? Like instead of paying 30 grand for a course, take that money and just invest it into learning the platforms, just running traffic. Like if I do this, what happens? If I change this photo, what happens? And just get on the job training. I mean, there's a lot of money that can be made, but a lot of people overthink it. They try to get all of these scenarios, all of the click-through rates, all of this, and they try to talk themselves out of it. Just test.
Yeah.
Watch a channel like yours where you are accurate 90% of the time, except for the last video when you said that native ads were dead. And I looked around and I was like, no, we're very much alive. So
there you go.
And just ask people. Most people in this industry want to help, right? Like, especially those of us that have been around for a while. We want to help people succeed because somebody put the ladder down for us, right? Somebody helped us get where we got. So for the most part, just ask somebody, hey, could you help me with this? Hey, could you look at my campaign and let me know what you think, right? Like there are people out there who are genuine enough to do that. I do it for people all the time, I'm always hooking people up with resources and people and softwares and stuff because I want to genuinely help. So watch things like
there's a lot of opportunity in other geos, not just the United States, with you guys.
Yes. Now we are very top heavy in the United States, but again, shout out to our amazing pub team. They are starting to generate a lot more publishers internationally. And I always say that the way that we get more international publishers is just start bidding on it. Like right now, if you have an offer that you're running solely in the US, and you could also run that offer in Australia or the UK or Canada, do it. Even if you can only spend $50, $100, $200 a day in that campaign in that geo, do it. Yeah. The more demand we can create, the easier it is for them to go out and get more publishers.
Because so I think a lot of the bigger barriers to entry with native, as we've already talked about, is the large budget that's required and a lot of testing. So you do need to be experienced. It's typically not something I suggest for newbies, but that's just the way I run this channel. But is there a space for the low budget guy somewhere else? Is there a strategy that they can use, or is it, no, you really need to go hard on this?
So, it comes up a lot. The only problem with small budgets on native is it's going to take forever to get through testing, right? Like that's why
patient you are.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in a hurry and you don't have maybe $100 a day to spend, you can do it. It's just gonna take a long time to be able to optimize. Like I think the rule of thumb that I've heard from a lot of people that I used to use myself is with any widget ID, I always just let it do triple my CPA goal. So if my CPA goal is $20, I will start watching a widget, once it hits $40 and see if I have any conversions or not. But if it hits $60 and I got no conversions, I'm probably blocking that widget, right?
Yeah.
So,
but with the amount of publishers you guys have, that would be a lot of money, because we're talking thousands of publishers.
And that's where working with one of our account managers comes into play, because they can understand that and they can say, listen, here's a list of 20 widget IDs that we feel are going to be best for you.
Let's start here, maybe. And
now here's the thing. I'm just going to throw this in there real quick.
Yeah.
I don't call that a white list. I don't like the term white list. Okay. I think it's obsolete in 2024. Because people come to me and they're like, could I get a list of a white list for people that are over 65 who drive Corvettes and have skin tags and who are looking for hot singles in their area? I'm like, do you think there's a website that exists that caters to middle-aged men who are diabetics who are looking for love while they're driving? No, like it's not. And then even if if you say I want a whitelist for tinnitus, it's like, well, all right. Like, so you want me to give you the placements of the other people running tinnitus, so that way you can put your tinnitus ad right next to their tinnitus ad, and then you can pay more for that privilege because you're increasing the demand on that widget.
Yeah. There
are lists of sites that we feel are converting well on the network, that are doing well on kind of a black box metric that we can help you kind of get from A to B. Again, if you're working with one of the account managers, to shorten the process, but you will not hear me call it a white list.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that you guys see some conversion data, but you don't see it all, because some advertisers don't want to share that with you, probably, in that sense. So it's hard for you guys, a little challenging to say, hey, we'll give you our top converting placements, but maybe there's one that's really crushing and some guy's just not giving you the conversion data. So it's kind of
exactly. Yeah, everybody passes back conversion data. So, but there's a lot of things that correlate to click-through rates and different, insights and analytics that the account management team can kind of look at and kind of guide
it definitely can't run blind, I don't think. You definitely need a little bit of help. And that's probably where you guys can present some opportunity, because you don't have the algorithms yet. Some of the things like AI, right?
We actually have an AI tool to help advertisers write headlines. It's called
Revcontent. But I mean, like, in terms of putting our ads in front of people that you think are going to convert better, that capability, like a target CPA or something like that, maybe isn't quite built in yet.
Yeah, I mean, and those are things that we're working on on the punch list of things. But we try not to complicate the platform too much, because again, it's media buying at its finest at the end of the day. The more AI gets involved, the more I'm going to lay in bed and like, man, well, how good is the AI? Are they really giving me all the things this is how my crazy, messed up, neurotic mind works. Like, I just, it's why I have no hair anymore. Like, this industry
same here, man. It's crazy.
And we got glasses because all we do is like do this screen, looking at numbers, hitting refresh. Like, we have the beards because we sit here for 3 days straight on coffee and.
Yeah. So what is I'm not going to ramble on too much longer, but what does your typical day look like?
Being kind of the director of the demand side here, a lot of my day is spent on business development and working with new advertisers and getting new advertisers set up on the platform and kind of showing them the ropes on some of the life hacks and some best practices and how to get the most out of the system, and then ushering them in, maybe getting them set up with an account manager, maybe helping them find, like some different, verticals that are working better. I basically just help people get into the system, get set up, and then kind of either, like I said, give them to the account managers, or I kind of step in. There are a few accounts that I still will work with on a fairly regular basis that if they don't have an account manager, they have questions. Again, I can't say no to some of those people who are spending on the platform, but a lot of it's just spent, in either training, the staff that we've got here, the people that work under me, or working on business development, or getting out there on LinkedIn, right? Like, I've got kind of a little following there. I'm in a bunch of Skype groups and Facebook groups, and I follow your channel. I don't know why I follow your channel, but I follow it. And then I saw that you just spat all over native, and I was like, I had to fierily hit you up on Skype and be like, how dare you, Joey?
Confronting. That's going to be in the title of this video. confronting Joey Babineau.
Not two bald guys, one traffic source.
Yeah. Anyway, that's very interesting. So if anybody signs up, let's say they have to have a certain budget before they get an account manager, or do you just kind of assess every
that we
situation?
offer for free, but we do ask that you have a decent budget to at least get you through the first 30, 45 days or so.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of time and effort that we're going to kind of put into that and what all entails. Obviously, as much as I'd love to give an account manager to everybody that signs up, it's just not realistic. Like,
doesn't make sense.
If you're somebody that, has a decent budget, like I said, you fall in that 10 to 15 grand range, there's no issue at all with giving you an account manager. It's just people that come in, they want to spend $100. It's like, can't really justify like all of the extra resources for you to throw in $100. Like go to Facebook. They'll take your $100.
All right. Final words.
Final words, Joey. Native is not dead. Native is a great traffic source that should be included in everybody's online strategy because of the fact that it does have a good reach. We delivered over 1 billion ad views in the last 7 days in the United States. It has great reach. It's easy to set up and manage, despite the host of this show saying otherwise. It's got a cheaper CPC, and studies show that people prefer engaging with native advertising over traditional display or social media advertising. So I encourage everybody out there, if you've got some experience, you have a decent budget, reach out to old Shaun over here and let me continue to preach the gospel of native to you and make you a native believer. Because as much as you'd like to say it's dead, Joey, it is not dead. It hasn't even had a chance to rise from the grave because it's never gone into the grave. We've been alive the whole time. Don't you dare ever make another one of these slandering native.
Ever. Well, thank you for your time. I know you're busy over there. There's lots of stuff going on in the native space, and I appreciate you taking the time to set the record straight, we'll say, from your perspective. And heck, we don't have to end it here. We can keep this going maybe into the future. We can come back and say, hey, you know what? Shaun was right. Yes. Or Joey was right. But we will not end it here.
Nope, we can keep this conversation going. If you feel Joey was wrong, comment below. If you feel I was wrong, save those comments to yourself because nobody has, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say that. Unless it's about Joey.
Thank you. And subscribe.
And definitely subscribe. 100%. Because there's better content out there behind the paywall.
End recording.